Welcome to Reviews on the Run. I'm here with Bridesmaid's biggest fan, Scott Jones. He looks lovely. Today on Reviews on the Run, Jose and Ben blob and roll with Mercury. Sean and Marissa fight an Epoch battle. Prepare for Dr. Maybe and the adventures of Scary Girl. Miri and Joe accept Mission Impossible. Steve and Raju create beverages with mixology apps. And Scott and I go back to Kirkland in Battlefield 3. Scott, you got to explain that your tailor is not your enemy. Something hasn't happened here. What's going on? Why are you wearing
in
this?
2011, Vic and I shot a show where we made predictions about what would happen over the course of the year, and he got more of the predictions right than I did. Then he got to pick an outfit for me, and day 2 of my humiliation is here.
That's right. But we don't want to stay in the studio for too long, right?
People might get attracted to this.
Okay, all right. Well, here's Jose and Ben with Mercury Hg.
There's nothing I like better than a nice Mercury hug. And luckily, the game that was on the PSP way back when.
It's not called Mercury Hug.
Mercury Hg is what's that?
HG, yeah. There's no U there.
Mercury hug.
Okay, you want to
How do
call
you pronounce it? How do you pronounce it? Is the H silent? Is the G silent? Is it Mercury? Mercury G.
Well, once again, your logic has defied any explanation, Jose. Mercury HG or Mercury Hug, whatever you want to call it, that's what we're looking at.
This game came out on the PSP like way back when.
I think they've had a couple on the PSP, and not just one game, they've had a few of them.
I remember the first one that came out, and I was like, this is such a cool, like, text, little ball of mercury or droplet of mercury, and you sort of guide it through these levels. Same thing applies here. Now it's on XBLA. There's leaderboards, there's time trials, all that good stuff you expect from a good XBLA game. What'd you think of the hugs?
Well, I really dug this game because it reminds me of Marble Madness, which is obviously, it's patterned a lot after Marble Madness.
Yeah, except now the marble has melted down.
It is. It's a little pool of mercury, but you know, I like that about it. The little pool of mercury, there's something about playing with that little pool that was just inherently fun. I mean, the controls are very simple. You just tilt the world and have this little blob kind of go down. You have to solve puzzles. You have to turn into certain colors. Yeah. You have to occasionally split it up.
Yeah, that's when it becomes crazy. There'll be little paths with little coned edges, and you have to split up your mercury and sort of guide them each to different colors, and then guide them through different paths, and then have them meet up in the middle and join to make a different color. And that's when the game gets crazy, because it'll judge you on how much mercury you have left when you get to the finish line of each level.
Well, what I did like, though, is that it judges you not just on how much mercury you have left. There's also amount of time it takes. There's also
atoms you collect.
Right. There's a couple different things that it'll judge you on. But even if you don't accomplish all 4 of them, you could still beat the level. It wasn't stressful. I didn't feel like I had to get everything done to successfully beat the level. You can just sort of, oh, I didn't do it in the right amount of time. Yeah. And then you can finish it and go on to the next level if you want. But so you didn't feel held back. I felt like I could keep progressing through the game. On the other hand, the puzzles were never that much of a brain-bending sort of thing. You always sort of knew how to do it. It was just doing it.
Well, that's the thing. They don't make it too complicated to figure out what you're supposed to do. It's just trying to get 100% of that level.
Right.
It gets intense, man. There's sometimes you're trying to hit corners a little faster than you should to try to get the time, and you're like, oh, I lost a piece. Damn.
Oh, yeah, you'll blow it pretty often.
20% of my mercury.
I retried these levels over and over again for sure, because you know, you and I, we want to get high on that leaderboard.
And it's one of those games that'll tell you just how many times you've tried, which I hate. I hate that about games. It's like, I don't want anybody to see I played that level 57 times.
That Super Meat Boy thing where they're like, here's all of your deaths in a row. And the best thing we haven't even talked about, it's only $5, man.
400 Microsoft
When
points.
do you see a 400 Microsoft point game that's this good and feels this robust? Now, obviously, it's not going to take you 15 hours to beat it. It's only got about 60 levels in the built-in game. They do have some additional download packs you can buy that open up more hugs for Jose.
So we'll call them.
More just elements for normal people.
It's definitely worth checking it out. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10.
I'm giving it an 8.5. This is a great game.
Mercury Hg?
Okay. Okay, let go. It'd be great if you could let go. Please let go of me.
So Jose and Ben love Mercury Hg. Very cool, but the alarms are sounding. It is time for Team Lustrous to make an appearance.
Right.
I think we can all look forward to a day when we have robot butlers, robots to bring us things, be nice to other people for us, and maybe even fight our wars, but I don't think we're going to look forward to the future in this game. We're talking Epoch.
Epoch, yes, where butlers have machine guns for arms.
Off the start, we don't actually know who this robot is. He doesn't know who he is. It looks like he's woken up after being destroyed and somehow is still functional, but he's got these fragments of memories. So he's got this woman in his mind, and the whole quest of this game is to find her.
Where this game shines, and where it was a big surprise for me, was the way it controls.
You have your 3 points of cover everywhere that you go, and you duck. You can do this cool jump flip from one end to the other.
But the only control that we have here is the one touch, which works so perfectly.
It does, and you just have to touch on the enemy robot that you're trying to attack, and then decide when you're going to dodge, when you're going to pop up for that attack, and when you're going to use the special features that our robot buddy has. He gets to augment himself with all sorts of cool power-ups. These additions to his gun make him shoot faster.
Right, because there are RPG elements in the game as well, and we collect different things along the way. We can choose to use missiles or different bomb attacks, and we can upgrade each of those items, which is awesome. There's a lot of collecting here, and what we want to do is make our way all the way through on easy, and then again on medium, and then again on hard if you want to collect everything and upgrade all your weaponry.
The game is pretty quick. You can get through this in about an hour or so.
Right, but just one of the difficulty levels.
Yeah, you play through on the first difficulty level. It takes about an hour. And the more you go through, the beefier the difficulty gets. You get more options and ways to dispatch these enemies. And there's like maybe 4 of them on screen at once, and you have to decide which one's the most important one to take out because they all attack you in different ways.
Oh yeah, the laser dude that just goes all the way through, is gonna slice you right in half.
He's dangerous. He's the slicer. Appropriate names for these guys too. It sounds like you had a lot of fun blowing the crap out of these enemy robots.
I did. I was pleasantly surprised because, you know, just looking at the app icon, I was thinking, oh great, this is not a Marissa game. I don't think I'm gonna enjoy it. But I did. As soon as I jumped in, I had a lot of fun. So what are you scoring it?
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10.
Oh, I'm giving it an 8.5.
Hey, this is Jeff Boucher at HeroComplex.com, and I'm here today with a recommendation, and this is one you are going to thank me for. It's one of the great science fiction films ever made. It's Brazil, Terry Gilliam's masterpiece. You know, Terry Gilliam has done a lot of amazing things on the screen. He's the guy that brought us Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Now stand aside, worthy adversary. 'Tis but a scratch.
Fisher King.
Hey, now that you know where we are, don't be a stranger. Come back, we'll rummage.
12 Monkeys, and he's pulled amazing performances out of some of Hollywood's greatest actors like Brad Pitt and Bruce Willis.
Learn your drugs, know your doses. It's elementary. But you want to make a telephone call. Telephone call, that's communication with the outside world. Doctor's discretion.
And in this film, he got the last great performance by Robert De Niro. Yes, there I said it.
You okay?
Tonto.
Call me Harry.
Brazil is a masterpiece of strange, surreal, kind of a world on the edge. And if you haven't seen it, you're going to thank me for watching it this time. All right, I hope you enjoy it.
I love Brazil. Haven't seen it in a long time. Boy, do I want to see it now, but I disagree with him 100% about that being Robert De Niro's last greatest role.
He's had lots of other good roles.
Ooh.
Stick around, more reviews right after this. Still to come on Reviews on the Run, return to the battlefield. Shaken, not stirred. And take on the impossible mission. But coming up next, adventures with a scary girl. I've had some good luck on the mini store recently on the PlayStation Network. I found a game called Scary Girl. This is a mini version, so it's bite size. It's pretty old school in the way that it's been designed. You play as Scary Girl and you gotta collect all kinds of stuff. You've gotta collect little diamonds and jewels, also little fish, and then giant diamonds. And you run around inside of these really surreal levels. They feel like a Salvador Dali type painting or something right out of Tim Burton's mind, which is cool. I like this aesthetic. I thought it was pretty sweet. It's based on a graphic novel that I haven't read, but I love the different crazy characters that you have in there, all kinds of animal creations and giant-headed monsters. The control and the game design isn't that tough. It's not that complicated. We played tons of games like this before. You have some jumping through trees and sort of foresty type levels, and then you're also underwater and you're swimming, and you've got to collect a bunch of these little octopi and bring them to Big Mama Octopi, and then she'll let you pass. It's not super crazy in its difficulty or its inventiveness with its level design or anything like that, but what it does have is this hooky, surreal accessibility, this charm that I really liked, especially for a game that doesn't cost very much. Scary Girl as a mini, I dug this. I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. Welcome back to Reviews on the Run, all of our agents and operatives out in the field. It is time for a Blu-ray review.
Well, somebody here in the studio is undercover today. That would be me. I don't normally dress this way.
Yes, you do.
Let's get to Los Angeles, where Mary and Joe are standing by. They've got something called the Mission Impossible Xtreme trilogy. Extreme!
In 1996, the Mission Impossible franchise was rejuvenated by Brian De Palma with the first Mission Impossible film, starring obviously Tom Cruise as Ethan Hunt, along with several other very well-known actors. You've got Kristen Scott Thomas and Jon Voight as the one and only Mr. Phelps.
Good morning, Mr. Phelps.
This movie was really interesting because I think it kind of kicked off a whole slew of spy movies that were fun and upbeat and action-packed. What did you think of Mission Impossible 1?
I haven't seen this since high school. It's a really great mix of suspenseful scenes and action scenes.
Yeah.
And you know, this is back when we all liked Tom Cruise.
Hey, I still like Tom Cruise.
I mean, before the nuts.
Before he went nuts.
I can understand you're very upset. Kittredge, you've never seen me very upset.
Emilio Estevez is in it, and I forgot
that's
that.
right.
Haven't seen this in a while, but it really held up for me and was really fun.
Yeah, it's sort of an intelligent action film. I think Brian De Palma really brought that to the table where he said, you know, I'm not just going to do action for action's sake. I'm going to actually tell a story, and I'm going to introduce the IMF to a new audience and really kind of play up the things that the Mission Impossible franchise was originally known for, the masks and the sort of changing identities. And I love that Jon Voight plays Mr. Phelps, and they kind of almost rebooted the franchise, but also created sort of a continuation so that people who did watch the show or were fans of the original show could pick up and watch these movies and feel like there was a bit of a seamless sort of transition. This was the first film in the franchise. It's definitely fun and upbeat. And
yeah, there are like two scenes that just put a smile on my face. Like
Yeah.
when the knife falls and lands straight up, and then the final scene with the helicopter and the train. And like in other movies, like you just see the helicopter would immediately crash into the tunnel.
Yeah.
But then it goes into the tunnel.
This is the first film in a trilogy, and in terms of collectability, I think this is a very collectible Blu-ray because this is the original Mission Impossible. This is the one that kicked off the whole franchise. It's a Brian De Palma film. It's a good Brian De Palma film, and there's some really decent extras.
The special features are great because they go into the specific stunts. They talk to the stunt coordinator. They show Tom Cruise, you know, doing them all. In the special features, they go to a spy museum.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
you get a glance at like the real bugs and how small they've gotten progressively. There's a lipstick gun.
It's not my favorite Mission Impossible movie, but it's almost my favorite.
Yeah,
Let's put it that way.
The internet is hilarious in this movie.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's amazing. And that's the other amazing thing about this trilogy in general is you see the evolution of technology and spy technology, even if it's fantasy spy technology, from 1996 right up until present day. I mean, the things that have changed since all those movies were made is pretty remarkable. So what are you going to give it?
I'll give it an 8.5.
8 for me.
After taking a look at some of the action in Mission Impossible movies, people might want a nice stiff drink of Shirley Temple.
That's right. Thankfully, Steve and Raju, they've got some mixology apps. Guys, take it away.
We're looking at some drink-making apps here. Now, I read online a while ago, some people were making fun of us for reviewing cooking apps.
Dude, everybody's got to eat.
And everybody's got to drink. Now, unless, of course, you're underage.
Yes,
So-
in which case, only make virgin versions of these drinks.
Exactly. What we're going to look at is called iBartender. Now, these apps are all fairly similar, right?
Well, I mean, they all just basically offer a bunch of drink recipes, and you can go in and pick a specific drink you want to make, or you can pick a specific ingredient you want to make a drink from, or you can tell it what ingredients you have on hand, and it'll tell you what drinks you can make from that. So it's like a recipe app for beverages, but iBartender is really just, it's bare bones, it's straightforward, it's no nonsense. Not a lot of zip and pizzazz here.
Basically, it only works if you have a totally stocked bar. You know, these things are pretty good. I think the best part of them is, you know, the ingredient search. And this is exactly what I have. What can I possibly make with it?
So what are you going to give iBartender?
I think I'll give it a 7.5.
Give it a 6.5. The second drink mixing app we're looking at is called Mixologist. Now, I like this one because it's got a lot more to it than iBartender does. You tell it what's in your liquor cabinet, and it will suggest drinks, much like iBartender. But the presentation is way better. You get pictures of the drinks, the interface is a lot better, and it actually gives you bartending tips on how to make drinks, how to stock your liquor cabinet, gives you definitions of the different types of glasses, definitions of the ingredients. It's really a much more thorough, fun drink mixing app.
Yeah, the extra stuff really sort of makes this app.
It's like getting extra olives in your martini.
But also, you know, it tells you how to stock your bar. Like, that's a great, okay, you need 4 of this, and this tricks of the trade, you know, a little bit of glossary, a lot of info. I mean, it's all sort of a one-stop shop, and again, it's really, really well presented.
Yeah, and it's got a bit of a social aspect too. People can comment on the drink recipes. You can share them via Facebook, via Twitter, via SMS. There's a lot of ways to share your drink recipes and to get other people commenting on the recipes. And it also offers kind of the top-rated drinks that people are looking at. It's great. I never really thought about using a drink mixing bartending app before, but if I did, I think this would be everything I wanted it to be.
This is probably the best of the 3, definitely. So I think I'm gonna have to give it an 8.
I would give it an 8.5.
The third drink making app we're looking at is called Drinks Pro. Now, this
I'm a pro
one,
drinker.
this one, it's funny. You know, I wasn't sure the name of it because on the actual Apple Store, it's like 8,500 drinks, you know? And so this is really going for quantity, definitely not quality.
Well, it's a lot like iBartender. In fact, it's almost exactly like iBartender with a slightly different interface. I think the only real difference is you can list the ingredients and check them off as you use them or as you buy them. But other than that, it's really the same thing. You're looking up drink recipes or you're telling it what you've got on hand and it'll suggest drinks that you can make. That's really all there is to it.
Yeah, you know, I also find it really weird when I open this up because it opens up with favorite drinks, and I'm like,
that's not my favorite drinks. Whose favorites?
Whose are these? Sort of going for the quantity. It's a bit of a mess. It's all there though, and it works, but I kind of like this the least.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, all 3 of these apps cost $1 each. So when you've got 2 that are kind of and one that's clearly better, there's no reason even to look at the ones anymore. I got to give Drinks Pro a 6.5.
Yeah, I agree. It's 6.5.
Feel free during the commercial break to download some of those mixology apps and enjoy some of those drinks. They look delicious.
Are you a sad princess?
No. Yeah. I forget I'm wearing this, honestly.
Coming soon to reviews, Road Rage becomes Xtreme. But after the break, return to the front line.
Battlefield fans got a big treat in 2011 when Battlefield 3 shipped to great acclaim. We enjoyed it. We loved it. Now some DLC is out. It's called Back to Kirkland. Victor Lucas, what do you think?
This is all multiplayer focused. It's multiplayer maps, basically. 4 of them that we've seen before in previous Battlefield games, but they've been reimagined with the new technology and engine that powers Battlefield 3, which is absolutely beautiful fidelity. It looks incredible.
For sure. You also get 10 new weapons to choose from. You got 3 new vehicles.
You can fly a jet,
You can
man.
fly a damn jet.
So cool. This franchise has always delivered unbelievably incredible multiplayer, and I think Battlefield 3 is the best it's ever been. And to play some of these fantastic maps, some of them we saw in Battlefield 2, which was a landmark game, of course, when that came out, to play them again in this finer resolution with better detail and all of the incredible lighting technology that they have in this game, just a total treat. The multiplayer in Battlefield 3, I think it ranks up there with the best multiplayer experiences I've ever had in video games.
I talked to a friend of mine who was a huge Battlefield fan, and he was a big fan, obviously, of Battlefield 2, and he said playing these maps is definitely a walk down memory lane. It's a nostalgic experience for anyone who has put hours and hours into Battlefield 2. These maps are going to feel familiar, but they're also going to feel a little bit different because they're rendered on such a much greater scale this time around.
Technically, there's something really impressive with the way that the game transitions from light to dark, and they even have things like a tactical light attachment to some of the weapons as well, where you actually get blinded by oncoming players as they're coming at you shooting, and you can't tell where they are behind their flashlight. It just feels like you're really transported to the battlefield, and I found myself thinking, how do we even improve on this? I mean, it feels almost like they're actually shooting at you at this point.
One of the things that we talked about when Battlefield 3 first came out is how that game was not necessarily a finished product when it hit stores.
The single player wasn't as good.
I felt, they were still working on it at the time. What we're seeing with a moment like this, when they release DLC like this of such incredible quality, this is the complete game. This is the full game. I think that this is absolutely must-own DLC, and I think, for me, personally, that's it for Modern Warfare 3.
I mean, Modern Warfare 3...
This is the experience I want to keep playing over and over again.
It feels more realistic. It feels more
feel like Modern Warfare 3 is laughing at you.
It's different, and I think they can coexist quite wonderfully.
No,
and I think
they
it's
can't.
the vehicles.
Battlefield 3 wins.
I think it's the vehicles in Battlefield 3, like jumping into the tanks and jumping into the ships and the choppers and all that stuff. And these are fantastic levels, tried and true, totally proven.
Battlefield 3 was great on its own before this DLC, but with the DLC, it's awesome. You got to get this.
Yeah, total must buy.
Score, Vic.
Gets a 9 from me.
9 from me as well.
Bravo to all of our friends in Stockholm at DICE. They're making an incredible franchise there with the Battlefield games.
Excellent downloadable content. Listen, we've got more content for you right after this.
She ain't lying. Coming soon to Reviews on the Run, Gotham City has new heroes. Hit the slopes with SSX. And tomorrow on the show, Chaos and Destruction reign. Today on the show, Jose and Ben puzzled with Mercury Hg. This is a cheap and highly addictive game. Sean and Marissa battled robots in Epoch. Interesting story and tight controls, but it's rather short. I played Dr. Maybe in The Adventures of Scary Girl. Interesting art style, and it's full of charm, but there's really nothing new or innovative in the gameplay department. Miri and Joe accepted Mission Impossible on Blu-ray. This movie reinvented the spy genre with a cool mix of action and suspense and great special features. Steve and Raju played Alchemist with Mixology apps. Mixologist Drink Recipes was the best of the bunch with thorough instructions. Finally, Scott and I went back to Kirkland and Battlefield 3. Great and entertaining multiplayer content and flying jets is always fun. And that's why the Rogers must-buy of the day is back to Kirkland for Battlefield 3. Twitter question of the day is from Cole Davis. He says, when was it that you realized that video games are going to be huge?
Good one.
That was in December of 1994 when I wrote a 3-page draft for what the electric playground would become.
Listen, if you've got more questions or answers, go to reviewsontherun.com. Right now, we're also on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Reviews on the Run, all one word. This man is Victor_Lucas on Twitter.
And this man is Sad_Princess. Thanks for watching.
It is true. Scott C. Jones on Twitter. We'll see you tomorrow. Humiliating.